Hello, I'm Alan Pegues, and today I have with me Miss Lavita Armstrong, Miss Guru of all things real estate, and we're here to talk about things that you need to know about real estate, whether it's your first home purchase,
Okay.
maybe you're selling a home, whether it's a land purchase or anything like that. We want to find out what are the things that people need to know, Lavita.
All
And
right.
I thought we'll start out about just kind of getting to know you. So,
Awesome.
if you don't mind, tell us, how did you get into real estate and what is your why?
Okay, then. So I am Lavita Armstrong. I've been in real estate about 13 years, and I've got to go back to 2008 ish if we want to find out why I got into real estate. And I'm gonna be real honest. I don't have no polished answer for you because
Okay.
most people will tell you, "Oh, I got into it. I wanted to help people." I ain't know nothing about helping nobody. I
Okay.
didn't even have a home when I got into real estate. So I'll tell you the story real quick. I was in Alabama and I was a young mother. I had two sons at the time. And I was in Alabama and I rode down a road and I saw all these for sale signs.
Hmm.
And in my hometown, I never saw a for sale sign, or at least I never noticed a for sale sign. But I saw all the for sale signs, and eventually I ended up having to move back to my hometown. And something hit me like, what were all those for sale signs about? So I had to research to find out what the for sale signs were about. Because again, I come from a small town. Once I found out what they were about, I realized we only had a couple of real estate companies in the area. And again, this is 2008-ish. So I found out what the signs were about. I researched what I needed to do for the class, and it worked out well because it wasn't a years on for me to get this license. So that was a plus. So I researched what I needed to do. So I took the class online. I took my time because again I've got two small children and I am working. So I took my time, did the class. I finished my class. It was almost midnight when I finished my class. So of course I finished my class, shut my computer down because back then we had them big box computers. So I shut my computer down, went to bed, woke up the next morning to the news of the real estate crash and everybody losing their houses, all the things, and I was like, oh my God. I can't do that now because I've got two small children. I've got to feed my children. So I went away from it, pushed away. That was 2008. 2012 rolled back around and it hit my spirit again. And again, I'm young. I'm not knowing, I had no idea where I would be today in real estate. So I was like, okay, Lord, I want to do it. And he put it in my spirit to want to do it. I had everything. I was like, okay, Lord, now if you want me to do this, I'm not retaking that class.
Okay.
So I called and they told me the class never expires. I was like, okay, Lord. Now I got to study for the test. And then I found out how much the test was going to cost to take the test. I said, all right, Lord, now I ain't taking this test but one time. So I went, took the test, passed the test. And I studied on my own, learned those license laws, did all the things. So it's like my whole journey. I was like, okay, Lord, now I'm going to try it, but and he just kept laying out the foundation for me. Again, me not even knowing where it would lead. So I went into it, I did it, and the real estate company I joined, they told me, look, Lavita, we're happy to have you, but we've not had a new agent in years. So we really don't even know where to start as far as training. So I was like, okay, well, I'm still going to do it anyway. And he was
Okay.
telling me, you should have this, you should have that. Well, I thought I had it. I didn't really have it, but I knew at this point, I done got this license. I'm going to sell real estate.
Okay.
So I went in, I did what I did. I tell people all the time I did it from the ground, didn't really have a lot of guidance, didn't know what was going on. I just kind of learned as I went. And I did pause in the beginning because I was so discouraged. I was like, I feel like, Lord, I feel like I'm doing it. I keep trying, and it's not working. And my children still had to eat. So I paused, not even realized I was on the brink of success at the
Wow.
time that I quit. But I had no idea. I had several listings on the market.
Okay.
And I was working with a couple of buyers at the time as well. But I didn't know that's what it was about. So I did pause for a minute, and then it just kept being in my spirit. Kept being in my spirit. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. So I took about a year. I saved up my money, and I brought my children to Tupelo, and this was a big move. I had never been away from home, never been away from my safety net. I was coming here. I only had one friend here that would be able to do anything if I needed it.
Okay.
When I got here, the Lord laid the path, where I was able to pick my children up from school, drop them off, do what I needed to do for my children, all through real estate. And right about now is when I'm starting to realize the purpose, around this time. Because before I'm struggling, I'm in struggle mode myself. But around this time is when I started realizing the purpose, which is to educate people on real estate. Because just as I didn't know a lot about real estate, the people around me didn't know either.
Yeah.
So a bulk of my beginning went to educating individuals on real estate, letting them know that they could purchase a home, letting them know what they need to do to purchase a home. So that's where I found my purpose when I got to that point. So I didn't come into real estate with a divine purpose that I knew of, but God had a purpose for me to be in real estate, and it's opened many doors there. I've got many testimonies from my clients, both buyers and sellers, about how they wouldn't have been able to do it if they didn't have the information that I was giving them. So I am grateful for being able to walk in that purpose of educating many people about real estate. So
That's awesome.
That's the purpose for me being here, is to show people who wouldn't have otherwise seen that the possibility of home ownership is there for them.
That's awesome, and that is a awesome testimony to you just having faith and just walking out that journey. When you first started, you had no idea that housing market recession was coming in 2008, going into 2009.
I was shocked.
But it was laid on your heart to pursue this at this particular industry, and the timing wasn't right.
Right.
Backed out from it, came back a few years later, more prepared, more focused, and then things just start to kind of work out for you. So I noticed you said relocating to Tupelo. So that's coming from where?
I came from Grenada.
Okay.
And it's funny that you said faith, because and people say it all the time, but if you know, and I've given the same testimony, because let me go ahead and say I'm a God girl. So if I make no apologies about it, I'm a God girl. That's how I got here. That's how I'm gonna keep going. But as I tell the testimony, you don't hear me say I walk by faith. Because as a young mother, I didn't even realize that's what it was. I didn't even realize that it was faith that was getting me through this. I just knew that that I was being guided, and I'm a God girl, I always have been. So if the Spirit leads me in a direction, I just go. But I never realized, I never put faith in that testimony, because in my mind I wasn't walking by faith, because I knew if God was telling me to do it, then this is what I need to do. But I do realize in hindsight,
that's what that was.
That was faith, and I appreciate when people say that, because people tell me all the time, yeah, Lavita got them boys, and she walked by faith, and she went to Tupelo, and because my pastor said all the time,
Really?
my previous pastor when I was in Grenada, my favorite pastor, he gonna forever be my pastor, but I always brag on the goodness of the Lord in Christ, of course, about the faith I had when bringing my boys to Tupelo as a young mother. But I never saw it as faith. I just did what the Spirit was leading me to do, and it did work out.
And I think that's how faith works, because it's not like you are just walking, you're getting up in the morning and just, saying that I'm going to do this by faith or I'm going to do that by faith. You're getting up, executing what the Lord has laid on your heart, whatever, whether you went to school for a certain industry, or there's something that you just felt passionate about. And you have to actually walk those things out. And I'm a firm believer of that, because I got my own testimony of how I started with just minimum equipment, and just I used one corner of my daughter's bedroom for my office. And that went for a whole year or so before I had the courage, and I had someone that was encouraging me that said that I had a client that was in the Renaissance Center for Ideas. And this young lady, she had a advertising firm, and she had a few clients, and she needed video production for some of her clients as far as 30-second ads. And every time I would go see her inside of the Renaissance Center, I always noticed how nice things looked and how nice the carpet was and the glass windows and doors, and like, man, she's uptown.
Exactly.
You know, and after about 4 or 5 months of doing that, I remember her telling me, Alan, you need to get in this building. You need to move out of your home and in here, because you're going to get new clients just for being here. And I was like, okay. And shortly after that, I was driving home, and the devil can't wait to creep in and kill your dreams or whatever your inspiration is. And I heard him on the side talking about, she can do that, but that ain't for you. That's nice, but you ain't gonna have nothing nice like that. And it's crazy how those subliminal messages will seep in. And before long, that will kind of creep into your spirit, and you just won't do it.
Exactly.
Just because the fear of, I don't want to fail. I don't want nobody to see me failing. And the fact that you steadfast to that, even though the timing wasn't right at first, you came right back to it. And I'm a firm believer that God is not going to do by miracle what man can do by hand. If there's something that you can do by hand, he ain't finna come down from heaven and unleash an awesome miracle when you ain't even did nothing. You over here praying for a miracle, but you ain't got off your seat, out of your chair.
You're right now.
So that is awesome, and that's a great start. So as you started moving in that direction, you educated yourself, you went and got the credentials and took the test. So as you start moving and talking to people in the industry of real estate, what were some of the common denominators, or some of the common things that you noticed that people just didn't know?
Well, and when I started talking to people, honestly, they didn't know none of it. They didn't know any of it. They didn't know loan types. They didn't know the buying process. I mean, it was just so much that people did not know. And what happened a lot that I experienced, and a lot of clients, or not clients, because they never made it to me, their regret was they didn't really have representation when they were purchasing. So, and of course, when people get a pre-approval, they're excited because they didn't think they could get the pre-approval. So now they're excited. They just riding around and just calling whoever, the name on the sign in the yard. And this is a big pet peeve of mine. If you've ever heard me talk, I'm always talking about calling their yard sign. It's just, when you call the yard sign, that's the person that's working for the seller to buy the home.
Not you, the buyer.
Right.
Oh.
Right. So
big distinction.
It is. So I always tell people, if you're buying a home, you need your own agent. Because dual agency is actually against the law in some states, which means that one agent can't work for both sides.
But in the state of Mississippi?
It's legal here in the state of Mississippi. So what I found happening is they would just call the listing agent, and they would go out and buy with that listing agent. And once it's over, they have a bunch of regrets. They didn't get a lot of their questions answered.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like they went self-checked out like they were in Walmart. That's essentially what they did. So I went through a big, again, educating season. Yeah. And it was just so much people didn't know.
That's scary.
People still thought they had to have 20% to buy a house. They still thought they had to have 20% down. So I did a lot of education on loan types, on FHA. USDA is where I started. That's 0% down. So I started there because there were people who could afford homes, but they couldn't afford that 20% that they thought they had to
And
have to
that's a
get a home.
huge amount of upfront capital, depending on the price of the home.
It
So,
absolutely
what
is.
are the differences? What are the types of loans, and how? What's the difference between each one?
Now, okay, I'm gonna say this first. I always refer my clients to lenders to go in depth on that. But just because I've been doing it for as long as I have, I do want to know the type. So you've got FHA, you've got USDA, and you've got conventional. Those are the most common types when we're
Okay.
working with buyers. And you go from USDA, which is a 0% down, and it's for rural areas. So, of
Okay.
course, Tupelo does not qualify for that.
Okay.
And when you have clients that have the income and they can purchase the home, they don't have a lot of debt, but they're not cash heavy, we try to get them in that, lenders try to get them there. And then, like rural areas like my hometown, Grenada, everything in Grenada, anything in Grenada will qualify for USDA because it's a rural city. So that was very helpful.
Even in the like high populated areas, as far as
Everything
communities
in
and
Grenada,
neighborhoods.
Grenada, the city of Grenada is considered a rural city.
So, what's the difference between that classification and Tupelo?
Well, Tupelo is bigger.
Huh?
The population is bigger
I didn't realize
here.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agriculturally, I've been told that Grenada and City, Tupelo have the same area as far as the
That's
amount
what I
of
was
land,
thinking.
but you have to look at what's going on in the city, the
Okay.
population, and things
Economic
around.
development.
Yes, all of that.
Gotcha.
So when you get to talking about that, there's a difference. There's a significant difference. So Grenada, the entire city of Grenada, is considered USDA qualified, and there's a map. We use a map to decide that. There are very few places on the outskirts of Tupelo that you can catch on that map every now and again. But we would use that again to help individuals that want to purchase with no cash on hand. And then of course you've got FHA, which is only 3%, 3.5% down, and Tupelo does qualify for that. So that's the most common source of lending here in this area.
Gotcha.
And then you got conventional, and of course conventional is coming back. It's becoming more popular because
But that's the 20% down, right?
no.
Oh,
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm
That's
talking
what I
about.
thought.
Yeah. So used to conventional, you think 20% down, but
Yeah.
they've gotten a lot of conventional sources now that don't require that 20% down. They even have one as
Wow.
low as 3% at one point. So you got, they've got a 3%, we've got 5%, we've got 10%. So those are different products that people just were not aware of because they just heard 20% down, and that's what we got to do. So there are a lot of products and a lot of ways to get people in with little money. I don't tell people with no money because
Okay.
you need some money.
We need
Now,
some money,
You gotta
yeah.
have some money if you want, to go buy something.
yeah.
But
Especially something as significant as a home.
exactly.
Because that is for most Americans, that's going to be your largest purchase in your lifetime, which is that home.
Exactly.
So we need to be educated on the process and our options, which is a huge deal because that sets up most Americans for any type of wealth that can and will be created will start with the equity from that home. Is that true?
Absolutely. That's absolutely true.
Okay,
That is
so
absolutely true.
let's get into just the first time home buyer. So because I've talked to several different people, whether it's friends or relatives, and people take different approaches to home buying. So for an example, there's a friend of mine who him and his wife went to the bank and got with their after they went to the bank and got with their realtor to see what is the maximum amount of home can they afford compared to I want to get a house in this price range. The difference between those two asks is what?
Nothing.
Really?
One person knows exactly what they want, and then the other wants to see what they can get. They want to leave their options open, because even if you find out the max amount, you can always come down from that amount. You don't
Okay.
have to get that, but people like to know, especially when they're shopping online. They want to know what their max is to see, because say for instance, and a lot of people do it the second way. They say, hey, I want something between this and this. And most of the time now they do payment versus just asking price, because you got taxes and insurance that most people escrow their payments into. So they do say, hey, I'm comfortable with a $1,500 payment. A $1,500 payment is right now is going to put you anywhere from about $250 to $265, just kind of depending on what the taxes and insurance are on properties.
Now, these numbers that you just gave, that's the total price of the home. 250 to 250, 260,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and that's with someone who wants a $1,500 payment. That's about what they're going to be purchasing in today's market. And that's considering the interest rates, what taxes and insurance are, because again, they're going to be escrowed in.
Okay.
So that's what those things consider.
And that's no money down?
No, that's not necessarily no money down, because those numbers fluctuate once you go to adding different scenarios into it. So a $1,500 payment with 3.5% down is going to buy you more house than a $1,500 payment with 0% down.
That's what I was.
Because the loan amount is going to be
yes,
higher.
exactly.
So
big
typically
difference.
People do that, but then once they go looking into the market, they're like, "Ooh, I don't see anything in this. I can't, it's not really giving what I wanted." So then they'll still go back to the lender and say, okay, so how much can we go up, and what does it look like to go up to this amount?
Okay.
So a lender, you talk to your lender a good bit, which is why I tell people to shop around for a lender. Make sure you're as comfortable, because my clients most of them are comfortable with me. Okay. If I feel like they're not, I'll try to go back and reiterate the importance of being comfortable saying what you need to say to me.
Okay.
Even if it's, look, Lavita, we need to slow down. Or, hey, look, now, I feel like I'm having to move too fast. So I go back and reiterate, look, I don't want you to feel like you need to move on my behalf, because that's not the case. So I just want to make sure that you have what you want, and we're sure that you have what you want. So I don't want anyone to ever feel pressured with me to make a move. And I want them to feel that same way with their lender. Because there's naturally more questions about your money in this process, and because they ask us the money questions. I'm like, look, I want you to go back and ask your lender, and this is, I'll help them with how to ask the question in order to get the answer that they're wanting. Okay. So that they can get clarity on it. But the lender is who's going to be able to answer those money questions, and I always reiterate that.
Okay. So what I just heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that you want to, when you're, whether a first-time home buyer or you're going to you're expanding, looking for a larger property for your expanded family, or either downsizing, the important factors here is to, one, know the different loan types. 2, be comfortable with your realtor, and also be comfortable with your lending agent. And the need to be comfortable with the realtor, because if there's anything about the home that you have questions about, maybe you're moving into a house that has a second floor and you've always had a one-floor home. Maybe you're moving to a house with a pool and you never had a home with a pool. Maybe you're moving into a house with 0 lot property line, or you're moving into a house that got 5 acres and you've always stayed in an apartment. You need to know what you don't know from the realtor standpoint, and that's the person who can educate you on those things. And you need to be comfortable enough that I can ask these things and not feel like I'm, and I always tell people, when I'm meeting with them about, our services here at Premium Productions, whether it's a wedding or a commercial or a video, there's no stupid questions. To go ahead and just lower that anxiety, lower and increase the comfort level, because I want you to feel like you can ask me anything.
Right.
Because you're spending your money.
You're exactly
and
right.
I need you to be happy.
You're exactly
because
right.
when you buy something that you're happy with, you don't mind if it's a little, uncomfortable starting off or get to a tight spot, because I love this car, I love this home. But if you are iffy about the home anyway, and a little uncomfort comes in,
Right.
it's going to be easy to bail.
It is.
and also comfortable with that lending agent. That's the reason there's so many of them out there, right? And you need to be comfortable with that lending agent because now we finna have the tough financial questions, and you also need to be comfortable with him or her because, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, because there's so many different avenues and elements to the home buying process and the financing options, and I need to be able to, ask all the questions needed so that you know what you're getting into and what you're obligated to.
Yep, and that's obligated. That's a good add in there because a lot of people don't know what their responsibilities are as a buyer as well. So, and we do a monthly home buyer seminar. We've done one January, February, and March.
When is the next one?
It is going to be the last Monday of the month. Is usually when we have them.
So
I
that's going to be the
haven't
last.
looked at my calendar.
Okay.
But it'll be the last of what month are we in?
We are in April.
April, all right.
Yes.
I got to keep
We're
up
in
now.
April.
Okay, so we'll do one the last Monday of April.
Last Monday in April. So we'll put that on the graphics
Yes.
to remind people when this airs that when the next home buying workshop.
It will be, yes. And we do them virtually so people can get their information at home without having to leave their homes.
Gotcha.
And it's more educational.
Okay.
I'm not a fluff girl. I mean, I'll throw some fluff in every now and again, but ultimately, I'm not a fluff girl. I'm going to give you what you need and make sure that you can get through this process and enjoy it as best as you can. This process I found, and it took me a little while to figure out that this gets frustrating. Because when I got in, I was excited. I love house. Hey, this is nice. Let me show you this house. Oh, and this another one. And I realized after about 8 houses, home buyers tend to get frustrated and they feel like that they'll never find their home. So now I try to reel that in and kind of help them understand and try to bypass their frustration. That frustration is coming back just due to market conditions, that are beyond our control. But I try to walk them through that and set the expectations so they understand what they're walking into. So that's what the monthly home buyers seminar is about, and to help them explore, because we have some that'll get on every month, and because each month we have a different lender on to talk about the lending process. So you may get something from one lender that you don't get from another lender.
Gotcha.
And because again, the money is a very important part of it, and I can negotiate better the better we are if we get that money right.
Yes.
So
yes.
And we know what we need to know on that end.
Gotcha.
Now I can come in, I can do my thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just want to walk you through the full process.
Gotcha. So before we move on, I wanted to just address something that you alluded to a minute ago, which was the current market conditions. And that could be lack of inventory and rising interest rates, just from a layman's perspective. So, and you can't control either or. And I know just from January, we was at 5.5 or 5.75 on 30-year mortgages. Now we're back up to like 6.5. Like they're going in the wrong direction.
They are.
Yeah.
They
So
are.
even though that's the case, it's still no better. It's spring. There's no better time to start looking and find either that next home or that first home. And tell us about even if interest rates may be higher than you would like for them to be, the opportunity to go ahead and lock in that home purchase to get in. And what does refinancing look like?
Okay, so now refinancing, I'm not even gonna try to touch on that because that's gonna be money.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's a little bit.
Save that for the lender.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't really get into refinancing because I try to get you in there. Once you get in there, I don't really get back into the financing part.
Okay.
But as far as buying, I tell people to buy when it's best for them to buy, because look, I sell homes. That's what I do. I cannot help it that I'm a salesman and that's how I make my money. I can't help that. But even though that's how I make my money, I'm still going to educate you. I'm going to give you the information.
Okay.
And one thing about it is always going to be a reason not to buy when you're afraid to purchase. So first we have to get over that fear of purchasing.
Okay.
And some of it is things that I can help you walk through, and some of it, those are, internal things that people have to work through.
Okay.
So I don't get involved if I realize, okay, this is an internal factor, or this person has several people who, and most of the time the people that are encouraging you to wait, they don't have homes. They're not homeowners. Like, your neighbor next door to you that's also renting is saying, girl, I ain't buying to such and such, such and such. And then I also find that most people who say they waiting to buy, they're not in a position where they can buy anyway. So you have to, one, be careful about where you're getting your information.
Okay.
Right? Because home
Yeah.
buyers aren't telling you don't buy unless they bought wrong. Because some people bought at the top of their budget. So once their taxes went up, it changed their affordability.
Mm-hmm.
So
Start getting tight.
It's a lot that when I get to talking about real estate and the mindset of purchasing, like, I could really go on and on all day.
Okay.
And I try not to, but I tell people to, one, buy within your means, and you have to consider
That's a big
taxes and insurance in that.
Okay.
And two, your first home doesn't have to be your dream home. But of course, if I say that as a realtor, I'm just trying to sell you something. So once you get that mindset in your head, I'm just trying to sell you something, I've learned to steer a different direction, because I spent a lot of time trying to convince people that the time was right for them to purchase, and they got the she just trying to sell you something
Attitude.
mentality.
Yeah.
And those people found that what I was telling them was real talk.
Okay.
But too late. Because now you really can't afford what's going on in the market. So I tell people, even today, you may not like the inventory that you see, but sometimes you have to have a real conversation with yourself to find out, what is it that I need from a home, and what is it that I can wait on, because I just want this from my home. So homes are, like, you got to have a roof over your head, right? And home prices are going up, true. Rent's also going up. We're seeing every day now where you got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for $1,500. And I just don't understand how you're okay renting a $1,500 home for 3 to 5 years, but you're not okay making that same investment by buying a home of the same caliber, allowing it to gain equity, selling that, and being able to buy something better in 3 to 5 years. I just don't understand why we're okay doing that. Because $1,500 is a lot of money.
And it's the same $1,500.
It's the same $1,500. And the homes are the same caliber. You'll tell me I don't want to buy a home because there's paneling in it, when you can invest in changing that panel out to sheetrock and making money off of it. But also tell me that I'm okay to rent this home with paneling, pay that same $1,500, and then get stuck there for 7 to 8 years. Because that's what happens. A lot of people get stuck paying this $1,500 rent for so long, and then when you decide again, when it comes up again to move, you still don't have anything to buy with, because you didn't.
Because you rented that whole time.
Right. Now, if you had bought in this home that you didn't like for 7 years.
Now you got a little leverage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I was guilty of that because the first 5 to 6 years that I lived in Tupelo, I rented an apartment. And my justification to that is twofold. One, lack of education on knowing what it takes to be a home buyer. And two, it just felt safer in the apartment. It felt safer.
I get that.
You know,
a lot of people say that.
And stayed there way too long. I mean, and it was a nice little town apartment. It was called, I think, Wonderville.
Okay, I remember Wonderville.
Yep, that was way back in 2000 to 2005. And it was a nice, cozy little apartment, and it was safe. You know, I was working at WTVA at the time, and just thought that we'll get to that one day, and the years just start rolling off.
That's true.
You know, so we'll move on with the interview. I wanted to talk to you about what led you to going to the next level from being a realtor to having your own brokerage firm?
Okay. So once I got into real estate, I was helping people, the consumers. But then I started seeing the lack of education and training for agents as well. So, and because I had to figure out everything on my own, I just, it wasn't always a good feeling. And I didn't want people to go through that. So, and that, and I wanted to be as creative as I wanted to be. Okay? I mean, what you see is what you get.
And the brokerage firm allowed you that flexibility?
This mine. I can do what I want to do. I can feel how I want to feel. I can show up how I want to show up. And I show up professionally, so it's not I didn't want to show up professionally, but I want to show up as me. And I don't want to have to fit the mold of nobody's brokerage. I don't want to have to fit the mold. I don't want to have to work with people I don't want to work with. I don't want to have to work with people who don't want to work with me. So I want to work with the people who want to work with me. I want to work with people who understand the value that I bring, and I wanted to do it in my own terms.
Yes, that's a big deal.
I mean, it's mine. Like, this is my baby. I can raise my baby how I want to raise my baby. So, and by baby I mean Brocon. Brocon is my baby. Brocon is who I am. I took the name and I was trying to figure out what am I gonna name this new company. I had all my family sitting there. Well, one side of my family, my mama's side. We all sitting there in the floor. I was sitting in the floor and I was acting like, what can I name? What can I name? And I'm sitting here, looking at my sons, my niece, my nephew, my sister, my mom. I'm like, all my folks. And, I said, I can name the company who I am. Okay. Brocon. So Bro is from my dad's side of the family. His last name is Brown.
Okay.
And then my mom's side of the family is Conley. So I took both of the names and put them together.
I always wondered where you got that from.
I know it, and I love to tell people where I got it from. Because people always say, girl, you is just like your mama. You just like your mama. And then people who know my daddy say, girl, you is just like your daddy. You is just like your daddy. So I said, well, that's who I am. So that Brocon is where we got it. Because, of course, I was coming for a cutesy name. I wanted to, some glitzy and glam. But no, the Lord said Brocon. And I'm going to tell you, too, how I knew that I was on the right path and doing, because I'm a confirmation girl. I always want confirmation. So the way I knew that I was on the right path and I was doing what God wanted me to do and that he was going to bless my business. First contract, my client's last name Brown.
Are you serious?
Second contract, guess what my client's last name was? Conley.
There's no way.
That's what I said. I said, Lord, ain't no way you to set this up like this. Ain't no way you sent the first client to me, last name Brown. Very next client, last name Conley. There's no way that happened.
Wow.
That does not happen.
Wow.
That does not happen if the Lord is not involved in your business.
If the Lord is not involved.
Which is why I make sure that I do what it is that he's saying do with my business and my personal. I'm not deviating. I don't care how good it sounds. If this ain't what the Lord is telling me to do, then I'm not doing
Back up.
And I don't feel no way about it. Proud to say that I'm a follower of the Lord, and whatever he say do, that's what we doing.
That's all right.
That's what we doing.
So what was like one of your biggest challenges to opening up Brocon Realty?
Well, I can't even say there was one, because honestly, the Lord laid everything out the way it need to be laid out. From the conversation with my current broker all the way through. Like when I talked to her and let her know what my next move was, she was totally supportive. And I'm telling you, it's confirmation, because I got my broker's license in 2020. Okay. And I went out on my own in 2022. And I'm telling you, I got a testimony for everything. And I'm telling you, if God ain't told me to do it, I wouldn't be doing it now. Yeah. So I got my broker's license in 2020. I took a leadership class. I was a part of the leadership, Mississippi Association of Real Estate estate realtors, we have a leadership class. I was a part of that leadership class, and our keynote speaker for that year, her name was Lee Brown, maybe. I think that's her name.
Okay.
So she came, did her keynote speaking, and when she saw me, apparently she's heavy into God too. So she walked over to me. I'm saying, y'all, when I tell you, it's just so crazy how God works. We just sitting there, everybody's going to get their hors d'oeuvres, and I was sitting back watching everybody's purse. So I said, I'll go up later. The lady walked over to me. I'm sitting there minding my business. We on the rooftop. When I say minding my business, I'm minding my business. Because this lady, she's the bomb. She's real big in real estate. So everybody was all over, and I'm like, I'm going to chill. I'm going to lay back, She walked over there to me and asked me if I had my own brokerage. I said, no, ma'am. She looked at me and she said, so what are you waiting on?
Were you even thinking about that at the time?
Yes, I had prayed about it. That's why I got my license. But I was holding back. I was like, because I just don't like to do stuff until I got it all mapped out of how I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And when that lady walked over there and said that, I looked at her. She said, yes. I was led to come over and ask you why haven't you opened your own brokerage?
Wow.
And I was like, Lord have mercy. I tell you. So when I say he laid everything out, there's always challenges with business, period.
Oh, yeah.
So I do deal with those challenges as a business owner. For one, I'm on both sides now. So I'm a realtor and I'm a businesswoman. So I have to handle the business side of my business along with handling the client side of my business. So that's a challenge in itself. But as far as being in business, like anytime that doubt tried to creep in, because like you said, doubt does creep in. God was working overtime. It letting me know, hey, look, this is where I need you to be. This is where I intended. You're on the right track. So he does that all the time. And I'm heavily grateful for it.
That's awesome.
I'm heavily grateful. And I lean on it. So all I have to do is if I take care of my clients, God will take care of me.
That's a great testimony.
That's how I live.
So what, and I think you answered this, but if we can just put it in a nutshell, what separates someone who is a broker compared to someone who's a realtor?
I explain this like this. You go to Walmart, you got a cashier. Cashier is responsible for everything that comes through their line. Then you also have a manager who's over the cashiers.
Okay.
The manager is responsible for what comes through all of the cashier's lines. So that's how I explain to people. So if you're a realtor, you're responsible for your stuff. If you're a broker and you choose to have agents under you, you're responsible for your stuff and your agent's stuff.
And I could grasp that. I can understand that very clearly.
Yeah.
All right. So, and that kind of leads me to my next question, which is the mind shift. Like, what mind shift do you have to grow in the real estate industry, from the broker, I guess the broker and the realtor perspective? You got to have
for one, you got to be positive. You have to have a positive mindset, period. And you have to have a business as usual mindset.
Okay.
That means that you can't let exterior things that are going on the outside affect how you're running your business. Because if you do, then your business is going to feel that effect. And of course, our business feels the effect anyway, just normal shifts. But, and the best thing I can do is an example, like when I did in 2008, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do it now because the market has tanked, right? Well, hindsight shows me if I would have went in 2008, I could have gotten my training in 2008 and been ready in 2009 when everybody started buying back those houses. Because in 2009 is when I bought a house. That's when all my friends bought houses.
Look at there.
I could have sold all my friends' houses. And I could have blew up instantly had I gone on in 2008. But my mindset wasn't there. Again, I was really young at the time. So that's just not where my mind was.
Okay.
And when the market shifts, just like with COVID, a lot of people was like, oh, it's COVID, ain't nobody buying houses. We all saw what happened in COVID. Everything blew up. People started buying houses, but there were agents who went inactive on their license. There were agents who did not promote their business during COVID. So because the agents that did business as usual continued to thrive.
Oh, okay.
So like during COVID, I did online. That's when I started doing the virtual home buyers videos. Oh, I showed out. I had a good time in COVID.
Look at there.
We were just, that's when live went big. And
I know.
Everybody could go
Everybody
live.
was doing live.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was on live.
Yeah.
I was on live. We were cutting up on live.
And not to mention, that was the lowest interest rates
Ooh,
in the world.
Yes.
I mean,
Everything was.
you could buy a house at 2.8 on a 30-year mortgage. Like, they're not, lenders saying that those days are long gone.
Oh yeah, they're long gone. And you had people saying then, I'm not buying houses because they paying all this money over asking, and them houses not gonna be worth.
I remember that.
They didn't call back up. They didn't call up.
They done caught up.
They called right on back up. And who we are, we're just 5 good years outside COVID, if that.
Maybe 4.
Right.
Yeah, because that lasted well into 2021.
Exactly.
The first part of 2022.
So less than 5 years out from COVID, that the homes have appreciated up to what they paid for. So that's why I say when it's a good time for you to buy, you should buy, because home ownership, real estate is America's biggest cash cow. So we're going to do what we need to do to protect our biggest investment.
Okay.
So those homes and those people, everybody that bought house, they're so excited. They holding that, still bragging about them 2-3% interest rate. And it's been, I'm like, just get over it. But they got in there, and everybody settled. And I haven't heard anybody regret buying during COVID, because like I said, those home values have risen to what they paid for them.
That is awesome.
And we've seen homes sell that they bought during COVID, sold no problem.
So no problem. Yeah. And they probably had instant equity, so that actually put them in a better position as the seller.
They kind of like they bought over equity, so it balanced out.
I see. Okay.
So they're not losing money when they're selling.
Got ready to sell.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then most of the people that bought, it was a lot of people that moved here from other areas, so our little prices wasn't nothing for them.
That's a perspective.
It is.
I didn't even think about it that way.
We had a lot of people that moved in from other states. And
they was prepared or used to a higher
sales
market
price, because what we get, you know what them houses look like in the other states, and you be like, they pay $500,000 for that.
For that, yeah.
And then they come here and our house is $250,000. They like,
and I get all this.
Exactly. So they were excited about our house.
Yeah. So my next question was, how do you stay encouraged and motivated when that sale fell through, when things don't go your way? And I think you've kind of already answered that, which is just sticking to your script, sticking to your plan. But is there anything else you wanted to speak to that before we?
Because you got to do it unmotivated. Ain't no stay motivated. You ain't always motivated. Motivated, no sir. You just got to do it. It is what it is. Like, either you're going to be a realtor or you're not. You have to understand that just like anybody's going to clock in, every day that people clock in.
You know what? That's a great perspective.
They don't enjoy every day. For a matter of fact, they don't enjoy most of their day, but they still clock in. At least for me, I get days of enjoyment because I love what I do. So even when there are days of frustration, you just have to get up and go to the next day, because I mean, if it were easy, everybody'd be doing it.
If it was easy,
so it's not designed to be easy. Too many times we get caught up in wanting to be motivated to do something, and that's not real life.
So that brings me to my next question, which is, what is your why? Because this is entrepreneurship, like at its finest.
It is.
So every day you have to find a why to, whether, that bed is just hugging you and I just don't want to let it go, or it's a client that you already know, she gonna be a hassle to deal with, but I need to get to the other side of this sale. What is that why? I know you said you enjoy doing it, you love educating people. Is that your why, or is there some other source?
Well, anytime people ask me my why, it's always gonna be my sons, my boys.
Okay.
Oh my God! And for one, for a long time, my why is still my sons, but for a different reason now.
Okay.
Before it was my sons because I knew I needed to provide for them. And I knew I don't want them to start off behind the line. I need them to start at the start line. So I did everything I could to make sure financially that they could start at that start line. So that was my why. But now my why is my sons for so that they'll have someone to be proud of. I want them to be proud to say that they're my son, because people are gonna say, "Oh, you Levita's son," and I want them to be proud to say, "Yeah, that's my mom.
Yeah.
That's my mom."
That's a big deal.
And they are able to do that. And I remember when my son found out he could Google his mama.
Uh-oh.
And it made me so proud.
Really?
Yeah, Google your mama. You can Google my mama. And when they Google, my stuff will pull up. All of my awards will pull up, and that was something that he could be proud of.
Come on, girl, that is awesome.
Yeah, Google me.
That is awesome.
So yeah, they'll always be my why.
So what kind of habits or routines have you kind of adapted that helps you stay consistent over the years?
I'm not good with habits. I'm gonna be real honest with you.
What?
I'm not good with habits. That's why I like real estate, because you don't have to do the same thing every day. You don't have to do the same thing every day. Now, one thing is I like people, so that helps me.
You're a people
be
person.
Consistent. Yes.
Okay.
And getting in front of people and educating people. That's really like, I don't do the same thing every day, but I do the same thing every day. So every day I'm educating someone, I'm meeting someone. So I do that every day. So when I say I don't have habits, I mean, I don't do the same thing every day. I still, the end result is the same every day.
Yeah.
It may not be the same task.
I understand what you're saying.
So I may be saying that, misspeaking a little bit when I say I don't have habits, but I just make it a goal to connect with people every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for some people who are looking for their first home, what are some things that they really need to know?
Call me. That's what you need to know.
Call Levita.
That's what you need to know. Because everybody's situation is different.
Okay.
And I like to do the brain dump with my clients. Let's just dump everything out, all of your concerns.
Oh, okay. See where they're at.
Yeah, what do you feel like is going to hold you back? So once we've done that, we can create a plan where we can go in and tell you exactly what it is you need to do.
So, okay, so you need to know what their thoughts and concerns or maybe their fears are, and then you go and address that first. Okay. All right. And so there's no, hey, here are 3 things that you must know or you need to know when buying a home for the first time.
Of course there are.
Okay.
Save money, lower debt, increase your credit score.
So be saving 2 years before.
You ain't gotta say the.
Oh, okay.
I don't tell you that long.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Just say do what you do.
Okay.
Save your money.
But there needs to be some kind of, I won't go so far as to say sacrifice, but if we're finna get ready to purchase a home, I need to how can I get these? If I got multiple car payments, how can I pay off one? If I got high amount of credit debt that I'm carrying on this credit card, how can I get that down first? If there's some that are under $1,000, can I go ahead and I need to pay those off so I ain't got 3.
Well, see, that conversation comes at the consultation.
Okay.
And that's case by case.
Okay.
Generally speaking,
that's
those are the 3 things you need to do. Save your money, lower your debt, and raise your credit score. And see, when you start lowering that debt, your credit score is going to rise simultaneously. Because especially if it's credit cards, once you start paying those credit cards off, your score is going to go up.
Gotcha.
Once you go to paying those cards off, your score is going to go up.
Okay.
So this is generally speaking. Most people only have 1 car. So now if I talk to you and you got 2, 3 cars, now we need to have another conversation. But I got to get you overall In general, if I'm standing in the grocery store and you tell me that you want to buy a house, I'm going to tell you save your money, lower your debt, and increase your credit score.
Okay. And those are in general. Those are the general things that I was kind of hinting at and want to provide to the viewer. Just some general information. When they want specifics, they can contact you
We need to
directly.
have a conversation.
Yeah. So, what are some common mistakes that you see people make, whether it's first time home buyer or just people in general, whether they're on their second or third home purchase? Just some common mistakes that you've seen people make.
The most common mistake I see is miss expectations, not having your expectations set properly.
Okay. For an example.
Thinking that, like, there's been a big shift in home prices over the last 5 years.
Okay.
So homes that used to be 150, they're now 200.
Yeah.
And 200, they're now about $250,000.
Yeah.
So people think that they can still get for $200,000 what people got for $200,000 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And that's not the case.
So you're having to limit expectations.
Yes,
it
we
sounds
have
like.
to reset expectations.
I like
Also,
that.
people are not understanding the real cost of buying. So you have people who sell you on that you can buy a house with no money,
Okay.
and you can buy a house with no money. They do have 0% interest loans. I mean, zero down payment loans, but you still have to pay for earnest money. You still have to
Closing
get the home
costs.
inspected.
Yeah.
You got to get an appraisal. As you said, closing costs. All of those things cost money, and people are not prepared for it. Another mistake I see is people spending money during the home buying process, which will.
What you mean? We got to get that. We need new appliances. We
I
need
know,
all.
right?
We need all new living room furniture.
Get
So
all
when
of
I
it in
invite
no
my
house.
people over,
With
it ain't
no
the
house.
it ain't the same furniture from the apartment in the new house. I need new stuff in here.
I know. Common mistake that people like. Get the house first.
Get the house
And
first.
get the house first, because when you get to spending all that money and lenders see that, even during over a course of 45 days, when they start seeing all this heavy spending, it's a red flag for lenders. So if you had $8,000 in the bank when you started, and now you got $23, I mean, and these not bills you paid, that just throws a red flag up for lenders, and that is a big mistake that we see.
Especially if you just barely squeak through with the loan.
Exactly.
see.
And people look at it like, I know I can't buy a car, I know I can't buy, big ticket items, but they don't understand how those small ticket items add up.
I can see that. So if you had a young lady or a young man out there that's interested in real estate, that are, curious or maybe passionate about this as a career, what would you tell them?
So I do talk to people briefly about real estate. I let them know what to expect. I know you like looking at houses, but this is not all that is. So, and again, I'm a real person. I'm gonna give you the good side and the challenging side.
Okay.
And then of course I'm going to give you some resources on where you can get more information. So I always lead them back to the MREC website, which is going to tell them what they need to do in order to get their license. I'm also an educator at a local real estate school here in Tupelo. Okay. So I do teach that pre-licensing course that is required to get your real estate license. So I give them that information, point them to how to get signed up for that. And if you show up for class, I know you for real. So now I can, kind of give you a little bit more information on what it is you need to do.
So it sounds like that young person, or maybe just that person, not necessarily have to be a young person, that person that's interested in becoming a realtor should start off by educating themselves with one of these classes that you teach.
Yes, and a fellow agent of mine had like an interest meeting for individuals who want to do that, and I have been in contact with a friend of mine also about possibly doing an interest meeting as well. We also go out to the schools a lot. Well, I'll go up and set up when they have the housing fairs at the school and talk to the students about it. I've gone to the different classrooms and talked to students. I have a whole presentation that I share with students on real estate and what to expect when they get into real estate. So when I say I do a lot of education, I do a lot of education on all sides. That's just in me. Is educating people in a way that they can get it. Because it don't do me no good to use all these fancy words and all that, and you be like, what she say?
What did she say?
So
I didn't understand.
I'm gonna break it down where you can understand. What are the steps? But I've learned just dealing with everybody's interested in real estate when you standing there. So, but after you leave, what you say go in and out the ear. So I don't do a whole lot of talking just in general. I need to see you do something before I start investing all my time and energy, because real estate in itself is you investing in your business, and if you're not willing to do that to even find out how to be a realtor, then I know you're probably not going to do it for your business.
Makes sense. So I wanted to ask you, what is one of the things that separates a good deal from a bad deal when you're purchasing a home or land? What would be a prime example of this is a bad deal compared to this is a great deal?
Well, it depends on what your goals are. See, because I'm going to define a good deal and a bad deal differently to someone who's looking to buy a home to live in it forever, and a person that's looking to move in 5 to 7 years. So a good deal for those who clients is going to be totally different.
Well, and statistics show that most homeowners, especially families that have that type of mentality, are only in a home 7 to 10 years tops. Mm-hmm. So within 7 years, that wife is going to either have an opportunity, that wife or that husband is going to have a job change, which is going to require relocating. Mm-hmm. Maybe we've had a second or a third kid, mm-hmm. that now we need more room. So within 7 to 10 years, the average homeowner is going to relocate or have a need to purchase a different home anyway. So even when we come into it like, oh, I love the way it's positioned and it's only 2 miles from the grocery store, and I love the neighbors and the white picket fence, life creates, mm-hmm. changes, which makes you have to evolve and adapt. So for the young couple that's going into the home buying market, first time home buyers, what would be the ideal situation for a great deal versus a bad deal run?
Okay. So again, I'm still going to have to say that it depends on what it is they're looking for. Because I have some that come in and the husband is a handyman and he can fix anything in the house. So with them, I'm going to be looking at a good deal being, we're going to look at the price, what you're paying for this property. So that's how
more
we're going to...
as is kind of deal, type of property?
And not so much as is, but not perfect, not polished. Like you may want to change our carpet. If you're okay with changing our carpet, changing our floor and doing some painting, handyman job. It just depends on, is this a good deal for you? Because a good deal for one client may be a bad deal for another client.
Very well so.
So that's why for me it's hard to answer that question, because and I deal with so many clients because sometimes I'll go in the house and I'm like, ooh, and then the client be like, I love this. I'll be like, oh, let me pick my lip up because they like it, So it's not. And there have been moments where I'm like, okay, well, this is not a good deal for you. I don't think, based on what we've talked about, that you'll be happy here, and that could do with, say we have a seller who bought the home and they paid too much for the home, and now they're trying to get out what they paid in it, but in order for them to get out what they paid in it, they have to sell it too high. And for my clients, this is not really, I get that they paid more than they should have, and I get that they want to get their money back, but for us, I don't think this is the best deal, but if you want to do that,
right,
let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But you will do it with your eyes completely wide open, completely educated on what you're getting into.
Exactly what you're getting.
And I noticed you said for us, meaning you are positioning yourself with your client who's the buyer.
Absolutely, absolutely, because your goals are my goals. And that's our fiduciary duty. So even if I wasn't like that, that's our fiduciary duty. Your goals above mine. And there's been plenty of times where I tell, look, I no, we could, let's see if we can get a little lower. Let's see if we can get these concessions. Let's see if we can get them to do this to help better your situation, so you're not having to try to figure out where you're going to get this amount of money. So I'm always going to position myself with my client, because we're a team. You know, if you win, I win.
Right.
But if you lose, I lose as well. And I don't like to lose.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's see what we can get. And you got to be okay walking away too sometimes. And I have that conversation.
Okay.
How would y'all feel if we didn't get this house? If this was not the right house for you? I always tell my clients, what's meant to be gonna be. Period.
So you got to be prepared to have a tough conversation with your client.
Conversation, you absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be prepared to stand in the gap for them. Sometimes, it's just not always easy. I've been blessed to be able to work with some great agents along the way, but I have had to hold their foot to the fire at times as well. So,
Lavita, sound like you're a tough real estate.
I try not to be.
person.
Most of them like me.
Okay.
Honestly, most of them like me.
Okay.
Like it's just like. It's like I'm tough, but
when you need to be.
Most people still like me.
Good.
Even though,
Would you handle business?
I got to.
That's it.
Got to.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day. The day gonna end.
Lavita, if you could go back to the beginning of your journey and, compare to now, what would you change?
The only thing I would change is getting in 2008.
Oh,
if I could go back, I would have gotten in 2008.
Went ahead, and when you first had a mind to start, go ahead and pursue it then. Because there was a missed opportunity.
It was. I think about it often. I'm like, God, you did it the way you did it for a reason. But absolutely, if I could, I would have gotten into real estate in 2008.
Gotcha. Tell us what's coming next for Lavita Armstrong.
Well, she's gonna sell a lot of houses.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
I am also into leadership development.
Okay.
So I have started Lavita Speaks. We are almost 1 year in, and I've gotten an opportunity. Thank you.
Yes.
I've gotten an opportunity to speak with some great crowds, a lot of entrepreneurs. Absolutely love entrepreneurs. Absolutely. I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I love entrepreneurs and business owners. So I've gotten an opportunity to do that, but I'm working in leadership development to help businesses grow their leadership. Because when your leadership grows, your business grows. So I definitely want to expound on that. I'm also recruiting realtors. I've got some good recruits right now. I'm super proud of my realtors. They are really making strides and doing all the things. And what I don't want them to have to do is go through the struggles I went through. So that's the heart of what I've got going on. So I've got my clients, I've got my realtors who are also, again, I want to see them shine. I want to see them do well, because I couldn't do leadership development without understanding that when my team win, I win. So as they grow, I get to grow. And you really can't say you're a good leader if the people you're leading aren't going anywhere. So,
yes.
Yeah, they're going to speak volumes. Volumes.
Yep.
So that's what we'll be doing, a lot of developing leaders. I want the opportunity to speak with businesses on training their leadership managers.
Lavita, tell me about the ideal clients for Lavita Speaks.
Lavita Speaks is a leadership development company. So my ideal client is going to be anybody in management that is looking to build their team, grow them. If they feel like there's a breakdown in communication, Lavita Speaks would be a great opportunity for me to come in and do team building and communication exercises.
Okay.
If they're wanting to build their manager's ability to lead, maybe you have a good worker who is good at working but not quite good with encouraging others to do what they do,
Okay.
that would be a great opportunity for me to come in and teach leadership skills and communication skills so that they can communicate to people how to do what they do. Because you have some people that they can really do something really well,
Yeah.
but they can't show
Teach
anybody
it
else
or
how to
yeah,
do it.
yeah.
And that means there's a breakdown in communication.
Okay.
So I would come in and teach some communication skills on how to do that with different companies. Also, churches. People don't understand the leadership team in the church. They need leadership as well.
You're exactly right.
So I go in to churches and do leadership exercises with them, and still communication. Teach those
Once
individuals.
again, yeah.
I
Because
do-
everybody ain't being led by the Spirit.
That is absolutely true.
Okay.
Let's not. Okay. Youth groups. I love speaking with youth groups, doing
Gotcha.
those same. So anywhere there's an opportunity for growth, there's
Okay.
an opportunity for Levita Speaks.
That is awesome. Levita, how can these people contact you for Brocon Realty as well as Levita Speaks?
I'm on Facebook for all of it. And if you look up Levita Armstrong, that'll lead you to both Brocon Realty Group and Levita Speaks. So you can contact me there. My cell phone number is 662-809-1889. You can contact me there. I do have several email addresses. I have one for Brocon Realty and I have one for Levita Speaks. But if you reach out to me via my cell, that's going to get you connected to me the quickest way.
And that number is?
662-809-1889.
Levita, thank you so much for just coming on the podcast. It has been such an informative, lovely time just visiting with you and just hearing all about your journey. Some things I knew, some things I didn't know. Hopefully our viewers enjoy this process and enjoy just kind of listening to you tell your journey and the education about the things that they need to know about first-time home buyers. Those were kind of generic, but as you mentioned, once they contact you, you can get more in depth about their specific situation, what their specific needs are, and guide them throughout a pleasant home buying experience. And for that, I just thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. And everyone, we just enjoy you guys for watching, and stay tuned for our next podcast. Thank you.
Awesome.